Hey guys, Dr. Morse, Injury Experts. This is the preview video recorded on Thursday night for Week 14. The Packers and Lions are at halftime. I'm going to try to get you up to speed so that you can set your lineups on Friday and hopefully get into the playoffs or win a little bit money if you are betting. Trevor Lawrence unfortunately suffered a season-ending injury. I think it was a combination between the concussion and the significant injury to his non-throwing shoulder. Probably the same injury that Anthony Richardson had last year. He should be good to go for next year, but unfortunately his season was ended prematurely, so Mac Jones will finish the season. Baker Mayfield suffered got cleated, but he'll be fine. Caleb Williams with a minor knee injury, but he'll be fine. Bo Nix is on a bye. That back looked great, no concerns. Sam Darnold with that mild foot injury, but I'm not worried. Brock Purdy still dealing with that shoulder injury, probably a small labral tear, usually in the front. Did not do well at all last week, which is kind of what I figured. I think he has a good bounce back game this week. I still don't completely trust him, but I'll trust him more than I did last week. Running backs, unfortunately, another season-ending injury for Christian McCaffrey. Now, CMC suffered a pretty significant PCL sprain that it causes significant instability. That's exactly what Puka Nacua had earlier this year. That cost him about 6 or 7 games. So that ends, unfortunately, McCaffrey's season. It'll be interesting to see how they plan on using him next year or what they do with him. Super talented, but he's struggled to stay healthy the past couple of years. Jordan Mason, at the same time, his backup also suffered a high ankle sprain and could be done for the year, at least a month. So Isaac Guerendo is going to take over the back, and he's pretty fast. He looks pretty good. And then the other thing is that they signed Izzy Abanikanda, who I think he was at Minnesota, if I remember correctly, and he had a great college career, but unfortunately he tore his Achilles. And he never really latched on. So we'll see if he can tack on here. DeAndre Swift with he did not practice back-to-back days with a quad injury. If this is a quad bruise, usually these guys play through it. If it's a quad strain, these can take weeks. So we don't have clarity on this yet. If he practices in a limited capacity tomorrow or a full practice, I'm fine. If he's another do not practice, I don't think he plays. The problem is Roschon Johnson is also unlikely to play with a concussion. He hasn't even made it to a limited practice yet. He just doesn't have enough time to clear the protocol. So that could leave Travis Homer as the primary running back. So if you're in a deep league or trying to play defense, maybe consider picking him up. Josh Jacobs is playing right now. He looks really good. That calf injury was not important. Bucky Irving, here's one that people are asking about. Bucky had a fantastic game last week after getting banged up. You should not be putting him in returns and stuff like that. He's a little too valuable for that. Now, he had a combination between a hip injury and what now they're calling a back injury. Now, when you saw him walking out of the stadium or into the locker room last week, you could see that he had a wrap around his side. That's usually what we call a hip pointer, which is where these muscles attached to this bone, they bleed and they're very painful. Now, we don't obviously know what the back injury is. Is it compensation from the hip? Is it its own isolated injury? But he hasn't practiced in either day either. So we'll have to see, is he going to suit up? Well, we should know by tomorrow, but this one could go either way. Rashad White would obviously be more relevant, and then Sean Tucker would be more relevant. So tomorrow we should get a big update on him amongst a couple other people. Another guy I'm pretty concerned about is Breece Hall. He unfortunately suffered a knee injury before their bye, went through all their bye, and then all of a sudden was on the injury report last week. Didn't do a whole lot in the game, struggled. Now he didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Now this team is going nowhere fast, and it'll be interesting to see if they push him or if they give this to Braylon Allen. Either way, I have a significant concern with potentially starting him this week for that reason. David Montgomery's playing right now. He looks fine. Zamir White with a quad injury. There's a chance he's got a quad strain, in my opinion. There's a chance he finally returns this week. We'll see. Alexander Mattison he was limited last week, but didn't make it into the game. Now he's even more still limited, so maybe he can return this week. And we did see Sincere McCormick, I think, look really good. He was the only running back this entire season to rush for over 60 yards against the Chiefs, who have a fantastic rush defense. So maybe there's something to him. I picked him up on a couple teams that the buys are killing me. As far as Pacheco, he should get more rust off this week and should look pretty good. Last week was he got his feet wet, and I like that, but they didn't run the ball a whole lot. Jonathan Brooks could do the same. He already took over the backfield, in my opinion, from Chuba Hubbard, but he may be even better this upcoming week. Now, transitioning to wide receivers, there's a bunch of big-name wide receivers that are injured. CeeDee Lamb, unfortunately, suffered another likely re-injury to that same AC sprain in his shoulder. He's shut down for most of the game. But now we hear that even though he's not practicing, I believe this is a Monday game, he is going to play. My concern is, I'm not concerned of whether or not he's going to play. He'll play. But we could see what we saw last week, where he gets re-injured and now he's out for half the game. So you have to be careful with this decision. Lad McConkey dealing with a combination of knee and shoulder injuries. That shoulder is an AC sprain as well. Not overly as concerned about that. And the knee sprain, we don't have specifics. Maybe it's a mild MCL. He's trending in the right direction, though. So I would not be surprised if he plays in this game. So just kind of keep an eye on that. As far as, his backups and stuff, maybe Disley gets more work. He was MIA last week. Palmer's been getting some work, and QJ has been hit or miss. He struggled last week. Jamar Chase popped up today with ankle injury. It could be contractitis. It just depends on, how he feels. But I'm not overly worried. He'll play. He's a baller. He's the number one wide receiver fantasy-wise right now. T. Higgins also has a ridiculous matchup. Mike Evans dealing with a calf and a hamstring, that old hamstring. I think he plays. They're just being smart with him and managing his reps. Calf injuries can be notorious for re-injury, so it depends on the severity of that in general. Malik Nabers is still dealing with that groin injury that he re-aggravated a couple months ago, and then again recently. This is likely the same injury that he's been dealing with since college. So think about how long this has been dealing with, 2, 3, 4 years. So he needs to address this in the offseason. I think he plays, but he may not be as explosive as he'd like to be because the adductors are very important to push off. And if he has a strain in it or a chronic wear and tear, it's gonna irritate him. Now, DJ Moore also suffered a quad injury. We don't know if it's a bruise or a strain, but he did not practice either like DeAndre Swift. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. I probably say he has to give me at least a limited capacity. If not, he's not going to play. That will bump up Keenan Allen, who had a medial ankle sprain, and he'll be fine, and Rome Odunze. Maybe a little bit of Komet. So we'll have to see, if they potentially lose both DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore, you're going to have a new target share just because of the volume that those guys were getting. As far as DK Metcalf, he's dealing with shoulder injury. Again, it's probably a type 1 AC sprain. Realistically, he's probably also still dealing with that MCL sprain as well. I think he plays, but he hasn't practiced yet this week, and neither has Kenneth Walker. Now that I think about it, I got to put him on my list. He's got a couple injuries. I think they're just being smart with him, but maybe Charbonnet ends up leading the backfield. We'll have to keep an eye on this one very closely over the next 24 hours. Jakobi Meyers, who's been really good for the past month, is dealing with an ankle injury. It's probably a re-injury of the last one, if I were to guess. But we have to keep an eye on this because he's missed games from this, so we'll have to see how rough it is. Brock Bowers has been absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, they lost DJ Turner, likely to an ACL. So that would leave Trey Tucker and a couple other, not so common guys for the Raiders. Bateman is on a bye. Demarcus Robinson with a hand injury, probably mild. I think he plays. Treylon Burks suffered a partial tear of his ACL and underwent season-ending surgery to quote-unquote repair it or clean it up. Downs is on a bye. Tyreek is full practice. He's hit or miss. He's been better lately, but still not, a traditional Tyreek Hill. DeVonta Smith should return from his hamstring re-injury this week. And I think realistically they're going to need him because I don't think they'll have Dallas Goedert with his knee. As far as Calvin Austin, he has cleared the concussion protocol and he'll be playing. Noah Brown's on a bye. And Keon Coleman was still in a red practice jersey, non-contact today. So I don't know if he's ready yet. I think Dalton Kincaid comes back, but I do not think, I'm not 100% certain that Keon Coleman is ready to return. Jalen Coker should be good to go. He was removed off the injury report today with a full practice. with his quad injury. Nico Collins is on a bye. Amon-Ra's playing right now. He looks fine. Cedric Tillman is going to be out. He has not been able to clear the concussion protocol, as was Romeo Doubs tonight, I think is how it's pronounced. As far as Calvin Ridley has a monster matchup this week, that mild ankle injury I'm not overly worried about. Just lock and load. Start him if you have him. Darnell Mooney should be fine. Brandon Cook should be fine. And Amari Cooper is has been decent. Beautiful play last week. Now Taysom Hill unfortunately suffered a season-ending, probably ACL injury. If I were to guess, they did say ACL, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a fracture as well. This could be career-ending, unfortunately. Dallas Goedert, again, as I mentioned earlier, likely out with his knee sprain. If I were to guess, it's probably an MCL, maybe a grade 2. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Dalton Kincaid, as I mentioned, I think he returns. Maybe not quite 100%, but maybe a flex spot due to how bad the buys are this week. JaTavion Sanders looks like he's coming back this week. Tommy Tremble had a fantastic week last week. Bryce Young has looked really good. So in general, this team is starting to make a little bit of progress, and he could be relevant. Josh Eller, I think he's turning the corner and could potentially return this week. Will Dissly didn't do a whole lot last week. Ran a lot of routes, but didn't do it. I don't even think he got any points. But he has a chance to potentially contribute this week, depending on the status of McConkey. Jake Ferguson has cleared the concussion protocol, and he'll be back. And everyone else is there's a couple others, but they're not really relevant. I will try to provide you a little bit of update on the weekend, but I'm doing some traveling, so it's a little bit harder. But I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you found this helpful. Do me a favor, smash a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please put them in the section below, and I will try to get to them. Take care. Good luck on your matchups this week.